Hey, 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 it's the Mom Cafe, and this is your host, Ty Spikes, and I am here with a dear friend of mine. Her name is Terry. Welcome, Terry, to the Mom Cafe.
Hello,
And
hello,
on
hello.
this episode, we're talking about special love. We're in the love series for February, and this is part 3. And this one is entitled Self Love, but Mom and Your Teenage Daughter. All right, all right. So I am going to show my mug for today. I've used this mug before. It's actually one of my favorite mugs that my sister gave me on Christmas, and I wasn't even offended. I wasn't even offended because, right, I have never strived to be the most perfect mom ever. But as long as I'm okay, mom, I keep you fed and happy. I'm okay with that, right? And especially when it
Okay.
comes to teenage daughters. Okay, so Terry, show us your mug and choice
Yeah,
today.
exactly. Okay, so it's funny that your favorite is the mug your sister gave you for Christmas.
Come
My
on now.
favorite is a Christmas mug, which actually my
Oh, how
sister
cute
gave
is
me as
that?
well. But
What does
I
it say
I
on it?
love Christmas. So if we could do, oh, I don't know, just a bunch of let's see. Merry Christmas. Oh, have a Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Bright. If we could do
Come
Christmas
on.
all year
I'm gonna
round, I
put
would
this
be
on
like
too.
totally happy. So you know how some people are like, oh, why are we starting Christmas so early? If
Right.
I would be totally fine. When they start putting up Christmas decorations in early
I'm with you.
November,
I'm
I'm
with you.
like,
We
I'm
can
here for
literally jam Christmas songs all year long. Like I'm down for that. Absolutely.
it.
Awesome. And
Mhm.
that cup just shows joy. It's bright. Y'all, if y'all were to see it, those who are listening,
Mhm.
it's straight Christmas. All right. So let's get into our episode with Special Love. And this one is entitled Special Love, the Teenage Daughter. Okay. And so Terry and I both have teenage daughters. I only have one teenage daughter right now. Terry, how many daughters do you have?
So I
Just
just it's
one.
just
And
the
do you have
one.
any teenage sons?
Yeah. But funny, I have, he's not a teenager. So I have two. My
Oh
oldest
wow.
is 24. And then I know, so I have a 24-year
Okay.
old adult son and I have a 16-year-old daughter. But funny enough, I have three sisters. So
Wow.
I don't know. I have a lot of,
Right. Right.
girl energy around me,
So
but I just have the one
let's talk
daughter. That's
about the daughter
it.
though. Okay. Man. Okay. This is a lot to talk about. So what do you think is your
Right.
favorite part about being a mother of a teenage daughter?
Probably, watching the ways that they're like you. Um, I feel like inherently we all want children because we want to see that, like,
Right.
many versions of ourselves. So watching how she's like me, even in even in ways that you didn't realize that you were necessarily teaching her, because a lot of times they're, you may not intentionally be teaching them things, but they're very much, soaking in, everything that they are
Absolutely.
seeing you do and everything that's happening around them. So I think that's probably the coolest thing. And when I say the ways that they're like you, the good and the bad, sometimes, when you notice it, it's like,
I
oh
was
my
thinking
God,
that. I
that's
was
what
just
you
thinking
picked
that. Like
up.
the good things are great because you're like, yes, and then you'll even hear people say like, "You your mom,"
Right,
right? But then they sometimes you hear them say it in a good
right,
way
right,
and in
right.
bad, and you have to realize like that is me.
Yes, yes. Right. And it's like, okay, listen. I know we people tend not to like, the
Right,
do as I say, not as I do, but I
right.
really
I'm
need
gonna
you to
need you
do
to
as I
not be
say,
me right
not
now.
as I do in this regard.
Right.
Right,
And so
right.
my
Please.
teenage
I'm
daughter is
just
like
trust me.
straight 13. So, I mean, I started to get a little bit as she was 12. I started to see a little bit of that attitude and a little bit of, and now at 13. And like you said, it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing how you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like that's totally me. But like the good and the bad, but especially like I love the good part. Like it's like, come on,
Right.
fighter. Come through
Right.
confident.
Absolutely.
I like the fact
Yep.
that my teenage daughter, because
Right,
I'm gonna be
right.
honest, at
Absolutely.
13, I didn't have as much confidence as she had at 19.
Oh, my
Yeah,
daughter
and I
totally
think it's
has
because
way
of
more
where we are
confidence than I
now.
did at her age. So
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
so
think it's
happy for
because of
that.
where you are in life? Because I know
Hmm.
me now, I'm like,
I,
now I wasn't here. I wasn't here at 13.
uh, I don't, to be honest, I'm not really sure what it is. I'm just grateful. I will say, for me growing up, I had I guess,
Mhm.
issues with my parents in terms of, like, there was a little
Yeah.
bit of lack of
Yeah.
stability at home for me. And so I feel like for her, hopefully she doesn't have as much of
Mhm.
that going on, at least. Not that
Right.
I'm perfect by any means, but I just wonder if, because at least when it comes to just, having
Right.
basic stability, that I hope has allowed her the space, to be more, I don't know, not having to worry about things that, children shouldn't have to worry about. So I don't know
Right.
if that's what
Right.
it is. To
So
be
would
honest,
you
I'm not
say,
sure.
or what are some things that you feel like that you made sure that you tried to do that you didn't get growing up as a teenager? What are some things that you feel like, okay, when I become
Ooh,
a
let's
mom,
see.
I'm gonna make sure this happens just to try to, you know, because I think we all yearn for things when
Ooh,
we are teenagers and that unfortunately we might not get. So is there anything that you took from not getting and trying to do that for your daughter?
I think, honestly, I think for me, it was just trying to make sure that however she wanted to express
Mhm.
herself in terms of how, because everybody has like this look, or everybody has a way that they
Mhm.
want to
Mhm.
present in the world. So I tried to make sure she was able to
Yeah.
express herself, at least
Yeah.
on the outside, the way, make sure she had
Right. Right. Right.
support there,
Right.
you know whatever phase of whatever look she wanted
Yeah.
have for herself. I tried to make sure to support her in that way. Um, Even things as simple as, I will say, now this is a good thing. So in their generation, um, this whole issue
Oh.
with hair, we as Black women, there's not as much stigma or
Yeah.
trauma, I would even say, around hair the way it was, I
Mhm.
think, when we were coming up. So now, even like with the hair, they can
Yeah.
express themselves, however they want. I mean, there are so many different
Yeah.
ways that you can wear your hair, and the world, I guess, is more
Right.
accepting of those types of things. So just trying to, like, I didn't want to be that mom who was like, "Oh, you need to look
Mhm.
this certain kind of way," or "No, don't wear that," or "Don't look this way." I tried to, and I probably
Mhm.
was that way a little bit, but I tried not to be too,
Too strict. Yeah.
opinionated about, yeah, too strict about how she wanted, to dress or wear her hair or whatever. Provided that she looked,
Right.
decent and
Like, I try to
presentable,
always make sure, yeah,
yeah. Because
like, make
sometimes
sure
she
my
would
daughter
wear,
understands, like, you're a lady. Like, I'm trying to raise a lady, and, like,
right,
but I teach high
right, right,
school, so at the same time, I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't mind if you can be a little free," but then I'll see some things and I'm like,
right,
"I don't know,
right.
I know."
Okay, now
Right?
there's a line.
Like, I don't know
There
how
is a
free I want
line.
you to be at 13. Um, so
Right.
so speaking of that, so my
Exactly.
next question is, what are some ways that you feel like, because the world is one thing, right? But how do you feel like as a mother, do you tell your daughter that she's beautiful?
I think I tell her, like, so even though she has a slightly different, she
Mhm.
has a different style for me,
Mhm.
than me, for sure. But generally speaking, I do like her style. Every now and again she might like wear something that I wouldn't like, that I might not wear, that I may think, "Oh, that's not so good looking," but I've just learned that if she likes it and I don't,
Right.
that's okay. And I just, but at the same time, I compliment her a lot. I make sure I compliment her so that she'll
Mhm.
know that she's beautiful. I also compliment her about, other things about her personality, or being
Mhm.
smart, or I tell her, like, I think I was just telling her recently that I'm, like you were saying, I noticed that she's like more confident than I am, and I'm glad that she seems like she's not struggling as much, with
Right,
some of the things that
right.
I struggle with. So,
And so do you do
so
yeah.
I just try to
And
tell
do you do
her.
like check-ins? Like, because it seems like sometimes when it comes to teenage daughters that we do tell them as parents, we tell them how beautiful they are, how smart they are, but then they get in front of their friends or they get in
Hmm.
front of the world and they're like, oh, and they're like, so they have this inner monologue that we don't even know about because like we
Hmm.
are constantly
That's
telling
true.
them they're worth it, but then they go to school and they go to other places and they might not feel the same. So is there anything that you do that you
They
check
may or may
in to
not be.
see like, hey, just in case, I just want to check in with you. Do you guys have like mother daughter talks to make sure that she's mentally good?
So I do feel like we do have mother daughter talks, but I'm finding I do need to work on making sure I am checking in with her more regularly, and not because I feel like when we do have mother daughter talks, it's more just kind of
Mm,
coincidental, just because we
yeah,
do talk a lot anyway. But I feel like I probably do
yeah,
need to be more intentional and make sure
yeah.
that
I
she
would say
is
just like
okay,
once a month, like once a month,
mentally
like,
or whatever.
my daughter and I
Yeah,
will go
yeah,
to
yeah. That's
Starbucks,
probably something that I
or
do
we'll
need
go
to work
somewhere and
on.
just say, let's just talk and just, see
Oh,
what her
that's
headspace
nice.
is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
what's going on in school, not too
yeah.
much. We don't want to be like empowering and
Right,
overbearing. But
right,
yeah, yeah.
right. Because and I don't know about your daughter, but my daughter has made it clear that there's just some things I don't want to talk to you about, Mom. And I'm like,
No,
okay, I guess
absolutely.
that's fine, but we do need to talk about
Right.
some things for
Well, I think
sure.
for me, I'm in the same boat, like
So
already at 13, but I make sure she understands, like, okay, I'm okay with not talking about it, but understand you can. Don't ever think that you can. And I
right,
always say this is my biggest thing.
right.
Don't go to your friends and think that's the answer. Like, if you go to you know what I'm saying? If you
Oh,
go to your
that is
friends, because I'm
so
gonna be
yeah.
honest, I was one of those
Right.
kids who were like, "Tell me more, tell me more." Like I was I was one of those kids that's like, "What happened? Let me know
Oh
about
my
it."
gosh.
And not never going to my mom about, "Mom, this girl told me this, like, please, here's why. Tell me,
Right,
so I try to encourage my daughter, like, okay, listen, if you
right,
get stuck or if you're like thinking about it twice, let me know. Like I am the person. We are adults. So like please come to me
right,
about it. So it's kind of nerve wracking for them to say, I don't
right.
want to talk to you about it. But like I get it because it's like it's a teenager and she needs space. But at the same time, I'm like, the
Right,
teenagers don't know.
right,
They don't know. Right?
right. They think they know. They
They
think
don't
they
know.
know, but they
They
don't.
don't
They
know.
don't know for sure. But I was the
Right.
same way when I
Right.
was a
Well,
teenager. So
I mean, I guess the bad part about me is that I just didn't talk at all. Like everything kind of, because
oh,
I was
okay,
I was I was pretty sheltered and not allowed to do a lot. So I was just like, well, I'm just not going to do anything and be the perfect kid. So with that said, what would you say is the hardest part about having a teenage daughter? Let's talk about it. Mm-mm-mm.
um, yeah, right. So for me, I would say it's when you realize that your own personal issues are starting to
Yeah,
affect your
that's
daughter
good.
in a negative way. Um, Especially when it's something that you're like, okay, I don't know when this situation is
Right.
going to be better for me. But at the same time, um, that realization that something you're going through is negatively affecting her, I think was hard. But at the same time, I was grateful that she was
Yeah.
honest with me about it, because at least that gives you the opportunity to try
Yeah.
to address it and try to do better for her. But I think that's the hardest thing. And it, I would just say the hardest thing being a mother in general is just being pulled in so many different directions
Yes.
all the
Oh,
time.
yes.
um just trying to figure out
Right.
the appropriate balance. And it's like I almost feel like, am I ever gonna, I'm like, she'll be an adult in
Mm.
another year, and I'm like, I don't I don't know that I'll achieve balance before she's an adult, but I mean, all I can do is
Yeah.
try, right? So I think that those two things are the hardest things. It's just you know realizing that you're not
Yeah.
perfect, and it does affect
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
and then the just like trying to
Yeah,
be
I know I
balanced.
have. I'm kind of putting myself out there, but I had a class called Balance for the Empowered Mom, and we talked about things like that, but understanding that your balance is your own. And so just understand that, like, you got this. And the thing is, I think the beautiful part about what you just said, though, is that your daughter was able to talk to you about it and through it. Because, like I said, me growing
Yes.
up, I never felt like I could, like, truly talk to my mom. And, like, so kudos
Right.
to you. And just talking to the women listening to this podcast, like, I think that's the first step. I have a sweatshirt that says,
Right.
what was it? It said something like showing up, just show up. Just show up. And so
Right.
in this
Just show
instance,
up. That's almost like that's the first.
yeah, like
That's half
in
the
this
battle or something
instance,
like
like
that.
knowing that
Yeah.
you're flawed because we mothers are also called human, even though a lot of people think we're robots, right? But the fact
Right.
that
There
you're
you go.
flawed, the fact that you're going
Right.
through things and you can talk to your daughter through it, like understand that's it.
Right.
Like that is hands down the best medicine is to make sure that your daughter knows, like, I can go to
Yeah.
her and talk to her about this. And I feel like that will be something she'll have forever. She will be a
Right.
grown woman and being able to talk to you about her being flawed and her not having it together. And I think it's beautiful. So just know that,
Right.
sis, like, hey, you got this. And I understand, like you said, balance, but like who is truly like the I think the part that we don't understand is that like everyone's balance is different, right? And so you have perfectly balanced two adult men and a daughter. So to my next question, let's talk about it. What would you say, or would you say you parented any different with boys and your one precious girl? Do tell.
I tried. I'm sure I did
Come on now.
because we're human. I tried not to make too many differences between them, just because I do realize that females and men have different experiences. Like generally speaking, for sure. But to me, I just think those differences are just individualistic. I mean, every individual has their own like individual experiences.
Right,
I don't like the putting groups of
right.
people in boxes. So I really tried not to treat them too differently, honestly. But if I'm honest, just probably subconsciously, I probably was a little more
Right.
protective over her and like um her surroundings, or making sure she was I mean, of course I made sure my son
Right.
was in safe places, but I just think I didn't worry about it
Yeah.
quite as much with him as you do
Yeah.
like with a girl. But I probably was just as overprotective in terms of making sure, wanting to make sure they were safe with my son as I
Okay.
was with my
Yeah.
daughter. So but I honestly, I tried not to make too many differences
Right.
with them. I really did try. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I need to ask
Right.
them
Right. And then they'll tell you, like,
if I
they were
made any
definitely harder on
differences.
me. Or, you know what? Not really.
Right. Well, and I guess now that I think about it, I want to say I think I remember my daughter saying, and this can happen with the child, like the second child or the youngest child or whatever. I think she may have felt
Mm.
pressure sometimes because her son, I mean, my son, rather, excuse me, her brother, he was just generally a good
Mm.
kid, and people will always say, oh, he's such a good kid, oh, he would do good in school and that kind of stuff. So I think sometimes she
Pressure
may
to
have
do the
felt
same
pressure
thing.
because of that, because they both went to the
Um,
same school, so some of the
yeah.
same
You're
teachers
so and so's brother.
know
Yeah.
them and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, that kind of thing.
Just tough. There you
And
go.
me too,
All
there you
right.
go.
So let's get in it. Okay. Let's talk about teenage permission to do stuff. Okay, so I want you to let me,
Oh boy.
because literally my teenage daughter, who is just 13, but she has already, actually yesterday, she was like, "Hey, mom, I want a second ear piercing. So how old can I
Oh
be to
wow.
get that?" I said 16. And so she was like,
Yeah,
"Actually, I want ear
there you
piercings
go.
all my whole ear." And I was like, 18. I said 18. She said
Oh.
18. I said, yeah, because you can get as many hoes if you want. when you're 18, then you grown. You can get as many girls
Right, when
as
you're
you want.
18.
So
There you go.
your daughter was
There
older
you
than
go.
mine,
That's
and
right.
so you can either tell me like what you still believe, or has she asked for anything crazy? But first thing, let's talk about piercing.
Oh, I don't know about crazy, but yeah, I want to say I think she has been asking me for a second piercing. And to be honest, I feel like I probably did tell her
Okay,
16
like
for
in
the
her ear,
second
right?
piercing. Um,
Okay, what about the
in her
nose
ear,
pierce?
right? But I don't. I has she? I don't think she's asked me for. You know, now wait a minute. I think she probably did ask for like her navel. So that one, I was
Come on
like, you
now.
have to wait till you grow.
What? So is the age
I
for
was
you
like, that's
18, or the age
because I
like
told
now
her,
once you out my house?
well, 18 is fine. My thing with the navel, so, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way. It's, but people get different things pierced.
Right.
People get tattoos. People color their hair.
All
We're
kinds
out
of
here doing
stuff.
all,
Yeah.
expressing ourselves in
Right.
all types of visual ways. And I generally have a big issue with however people want to, present. But with as her being underage, I also feel like you don't want to do
Right.
everything too fast. Like, give yourself time to
Right.
experience certain things. So it's like I don't want her to have, done all these different things before
Right.
she's even 18. So it's like, do some things now
Right.
and then wait until you're a little older to do some things. And like even with the now I'm sure you are aware of this. I don't have a navel piercing, but to be fair, when I was a young adult in my 20s, I thought about getting my navel pierced until they told me two things. Number one, it hurts. I don't like pain. The second thing is they were like, you have to be very careful because they get easily infected. And so that was
Can
my
you go
concern
back and
with
say
her
that again?
is
You
that I
say
was
that you
like,
in your 20s, what did you try to get?
oh, when I was in my 20s, oh man, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to get a tattoo. I wanted to get my nose pierced. I wanted to get my
Oh, get
navel
my
pierced. But again, once I found, for me, I have a low, top pain,
mm-hmm.
tolerance for pain. So that kind of kept me from doing a lot of these things. And then after a while, you get
Right.
older and you just don't kind of care anymore. But my other concern about the navel piercing was I was told by certain people that you have to be very
Right.
careful with it because though that particular piercing
Right.
can become easily infected. And so I feel like, okay, if you're older, I think you can handle that situation a little bit better than I would be concerned about her doing something, to cause it to be infected.
Right.
Because you know how teenagers are. They
Yeah,
just,
I'm in the same boat. Like I
they,
actually
some
did get
things
a
they,
belly button piercing. That's the only thing that I allowed myself to
okay.
get, and actually got a belly button piercing before I got my second ear piercing. But I was like grown.
Oh,
I was grown, grown.
did
Like I
it
was
hurt?
like 21, 22 when I got my belly button
When you
pierced.
got which one, the ear or the,
It it
oh, okay.
it hurt, but it wasn't like a cry hurt. It was like it felt
Excruciating.
like it was. That's what it felt like, a needle, like a big
Oh,
pinch,
okay.
you know. Yeah, so it was like they told you to
Oh, okay,
inhale
okay.
like, and then whoop, and then like, oh, okay, and you was just like, oh, okay. But I agree. I feel like I was older, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna clean this, and they was like, it can be infected. Lies. I was like, no, mine can't get infected. So I actually cleaned mine. I actually cared for it and things like that. And I actually was
Right,
engaged. So
right.
I actually did it not like because I wanted to show it off, but I just thought maybe this would be cute for my husband to see and things like that. Because I really didn't even wear revealing clothing like that. And the craziest part, like I was really sheltered, so I like
Oh,
prayed
okay. No,
about it, like
full
please God,
disclosure.
don't shun me. It was really crazy for me. But the bad part for me is that I got it, in my young 20s, but it was before I got married. Then I got married, and then I got pregnant, and
Hmm.
baby, that thing stretched right off. And then like it never how it stretched, it
That's
didn't heal
funny.
properly. So
That
I'm
is
gonna be
so
honest, I
funny.
get a fake one because like you don't
Oh
know how your body's
no.
gonna heal, and then it stays like it is forever unless you get like some
Right,
kind of
right,
surgery
right,
to get it
right,
corrected. But you're right, like
right, right.
I think but the piercing versus the tattoos is something different. So what would you say is the age that you allow her to get
Right.
a tattoo?
So again, I would not be comfortable with her
Yeah,
getting a tattoo
yeah,
until she's 18. And do they even legally
No, they
let
still
teenagers
don't. The
get
legal age is
tattoos?
still
I don't
18.
know.
But if
Oh,
I'm
okay,
not
that's cool.
mistaken, at the age of 16, you can take your child to get a tattoo. Because it's a lot of teenagers
Oh, okay.
walking
See, I
around with
wasn't aware of
tattoos in
that.
high school.
But
Oh yeah, it's
oh,
way more than you would think.
wow. And I mean, I
Right.
look, I'm not gonna judge. Again, I just think that's something like just
Yeah.
a wait. It because that's the other thing. You know, how as when you're a teenager or just a young person in general, one
Right.
minute you want, it's like, oh, I want this, and then the next
Right.
minute you change your mind. So I'm like, if you want it when you're 16 and you
Right.
still want it when you're
I think I'm in the
18,
same boat
okay,
because
fine.
I was that person. Like, I didn't dedicate myself to anything. So it's like, why would I dedicate myself to one art drawing that's Oh, I would be so mad at myself. So that's why I don't even actually have tattoos because I always was like, I changed my mind very quickly. But I
Yeah, I don't
feel like
either.
at 18, I would have that sit down talk of like, if this is what you think that you're gonna still want at 25 and 35, then get it, you know.
Right,
But if you feel
right. Then
like,
go ahead. Right.
nah, like this is not gonna represent me in 10 years, and that wouldn't be. But also, if you're 18 and you just want to
Maybe you want to
express
think
yourself,
about
go for it. But do
that.
the 18. Yeah, I'm with you. All
Right.
right. All right.
Right.
So, what about the big B word? Boyfriends. Is there a certain age that you say that your daughter can seriously date a guy? Or, were you okay at 13? Were you like, absolutely not? So, what would be the proper age that you feel like for your daughter to bring a guy home?
So I was always okay with her. Like, even when she was like in middle school, I was okay with the term, like, I guess, boyfriend. But my idea of a boyfriend is this is just your somebody that
That you like
y'all,
each other?
y'all like each other. You see each
Mm-hmm.
other at school.
Right.
Y'all talk on the
Right.
phone. That's it. Not like,
Okay.
going on serious dates. So for her, I was like, I wasn't, I, I was, I think I'm trying to think. I think I let her go to the movies with one of her, and he wasn't her boyfriend. It was her friend. I
Right.
think he
Okay.
liked her. I don't think she really liked him, but anyway, I think she may have been still 15 when I let
Okay.
them go to the movies. But we dropped her off, pick her up. It was in the daytime.
Yeah.
It was a matinee. So I can't remember if she was quite 16 that time. But after that, anybody she's like gone on dates with, for me, it was like you
Okay.
need to be
Yeah.
16. So,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I'm
officially,
I'm
yeah.
I
And
think we
even
agree on a
then,
lot of things, and my daughter's not quite 16, but I have a teenage son, and for me, I didn't want to parent differently, so I did that for him, and I think that's a good age. I think 16 is the legal driving age, so even if she
yeah,
dated someone who was 16 or above, like,
right,
he can actually drive, and I was just thinking that's a perfect age if he really wanted to court her. I know that's really old school, but like they can actually
right,
do that if you want a serious relationship. I think
right.
16 is a good beginning age. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they're honestly a lot of who they are between 16 and 18
Yeah.
is pretty similar. A lot of teenagers, they are pretty mature at
Especially
16.
girls.
I mean, to be honest, especially girls. And remember, there was a time when women or young women were
Oh,
getting
absolutely.
married at 16. Now, we don't
Right.
agree with that today. But I mean, young girls, they don't know
Yeah,
everything at 16, which is why they shouldn't
absolutely.
be getting married at 16. But they
Yeah,
are pretty
yeah. I know
mature
my
at
mother. My
16,
mother actually got
actually.
married at
So,
17, and
yeah.
I just remember thinking like, that's
Wow.
crazy sauce. But I remember asking my father like,
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
hey, if I would have got married at 17, like, wouldn't you have been mad? He was just like, no, if you were ready. And I was just like, that's still
Mm.
crazy sauce for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, my
Wow.
mom was
Yeah, it's
19.
just,
So,
can you think that? Can you
hmm
think you were ready at 19?
hmm oh, I got married at 23.
Right?
I was not ready then. But,
Hey, I'm with
here
you
I
too. I'm with you.
am.
I'm with
I
you.
didn't know that
All
at the
right.
time.
All right. So, but that was good. All that stuff is great. So the last and final question, well, actually, it's two questions. So, what would you say is your dream for your teenage daughter?
Honestly, my dream for her is to basically be able to make a living, either make a living doing what she loves and what she's passionate about, or if she can't if she doesn't I'll say if she doesn't choose to, make a living doing it, to be able to at least do the things that she loves and that she's so passionate about. To be I hope she's in a space where she can make sure she makes
Mm-hmm.
time for those things, because I think that's important. I think, we all are born with some type of
Yeah.
God-given talent to create, or you know just be whatever that is that God designed us to be. And so I think we do ourselves a disservice when we don't allow ourselves to operate,
Yeah.
in
Your
those
fully.
gifts, and to do the things that
Yeah.
we really are passionate about. And what can happen over time is, what do the kids say now? Life be life in, or whatever the
But
kids
it
say.
do now. It be life.
And you just mhm. Yes. And you get so sometimes you could get so sucked into just
Mm-hmm.
surviving, trying to, you're working, you taking care of kids or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to remember to make time for
Yeah.
those things that you love and that you're passionate about. So I that's
Yeah.
my dream for her, is that she always be true to herself, and do those things that she
Yeah.
loves and
That's
that she's
beautiful.
passionate about. And continue to, like,
Yeah, that's
pour into her
beautiful. Yeah, I
gifts.
would say,
Yeah.
I mean, because I have one teenage daughter, but baby, I'm going to have a lot. I'm trying to think.
Hmm. Yes,
At
you
one
are.
point, maybe all of my daughters will be. I think they are. No, maybe not. I'll have three teenage daughters at one time. But regardless, I think I just want them to be their best selves. Of whatever that is. Like you said, being
Yes,
authentic and
absolutely.
doing. What they want to do with their
Right.
lives, but at the same time, I want them to be bad. I
Right.
mean, like
Right.
Michael Jackson bad. Like show the
Right.
world
Boss.
who you
Right.
are,
Bosses. There
and
you go.
like kind of
Yes,
like
that's right.
I think that's why I try to show
Yes.
them the persona of baby, you got this. Don't and listen, if you fail, if you
Right.
don't make the team, it's okay, baby.
That
They're
part.
lost, and move on because look at this.
Right.
I don't know. I want them to be
Right.
fully confident, fully
Right.
aware, and be fully themselves. That's my dream for my teenage
Yes.
girls. So the
Absolutely.
very last question,
Absolutely.
or really the very last response, is for those parents out there who have teenage daughters, good, bad, and in between, what would you say to those? Because this want to let everyone know, our listeners, that everything we said here are just our thoughts and our comments. It's not to sway anyone any different
Right.
way, but it's just our thoughts. So if you let your daughter get an ear piercings or tongue piercings at 13, baby, go for it. And we just telling y'all what we think is best for us and our
Right.
daughters.
Right.
But Terry, what would you say
Right.
is
Right. Right.
just some advice for those women, thousands and thousands of women out there with teenage daughters like us?
I would say, of course, love your daughter unconditionally. Allow her to be
Mm-hmm.
who she is. Don't try to put your ideas or your expectations of who you think she should be. Let her be her authentic self. Um, and don't be so hard
Mm-hmm.
on
Come on
yourself.
now.
Sometimes give
Grace.
yourself a little uh grace. There you go. Yes, don't be so hard on yourself. Right. Because we're all out here just trying
That's
to do the
it. See,
best that
hey,
we can.
the
So
mamas.
that's what I would.
Hey, we just
Yep.
trying to get through it, people.
There you
I
go.
love it.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Listen, I second everything that Terry just
That's right.
said. So I'm going to end my podcast with that. Here's way, spread love every day. Join us next week on the Mom Cafe. Cheers. See you
Awesome.
next week,
All right.
guys.
Cheers. Thank you. Okay. See you. Bye bye.